Guys, doing another What's Next. This is on Keith Thurman, the former unified welterweight champion of the world. He's currently my number 4 welterweight right now, and he's coming off the loss last year to Manny Pacquiao in their fight where he lost the WBA title to him. That was the first loss of his career. It was by a split decision. Personally, I didn't feel the fight was that close to be called a split decision, but you know, Thurman did come on strong in the second half of the fight, but I still felt Pacquiao dictated the pace, and I'd say 8 rounds. If you want to be generous, you could call it 7-5, but I thought Pacquiao won. 7 solid 8 rounds more in my book, and to capture the world title. But be that as it may, Pacquiao walked out the winner. Thurman hasn't fought since. Apparently, he had surgery on something to get back. He's talking about coming back towards, whenever the pandemic's lifted, maybe the fall, maybe the winter, we'll return then. Not too sure about who he's going to face and what level of fighter he's going to face. So let's run through the top 10 at welterweight and see what's next for former unified welterweight champion Keith one-time Thurman. We start with number 1 overall undefeated Errol Spence, the unified champion. I don't see this one next for Thurman because Spence is he's too good of a fighter for Thurman to take back in his first fight. Thurman's going to be smart. He's not going to rush into a big fight against the top dog, Errol Spence. Not next anyways. That's a fight he'll probably save for 2021, so I don't see him doing this one. Number 2 is undefeated WBO champion Terrence Crawford. Now, these guys have went back and forth on social media. Thurman says, send over the paperwork and I'll sign a contract. I think that's bullshit. He's not signing anything. He doesn't want any part of Terrence Crawford right now. Maybe I wouldn't completely rule it out down the road, but right now he's not fighting Terrence Crawford. So, everybody, if they got excited by that, I think it's a joke. I would love for him to sign the contract and face Crawford, but I just don't think he's going to do that. So, not seeing that one. I don't think so. Number 3 would be a rematch with WBA super champion Manny Pacquiao. Pacquiao's not considering a rematch with Thurman next. Pacquiao looks at it like, I don't need to fight him. I have other bigger name or just as good a name options that I can face. And Thurman, in my opinion, a rematch with Thurman is not on his radar right now. Thurman is number 4. Number 5 would be a rematch with Sean Porter. I'm not seeing this one. Not right out the gate. It wouldn't mean, I guess conceivably you could say maybe a final eliminator in the WBC, if that can be arranged, because Porter's number 1 in the WBC, to mandate a new number 1 contender. But I just don't think Thurman wants that right out the gate, so I'm not seeing that. The first fight was a fucking war. Thurman got out with a very close unanimous decision. I don't think he's going to want to do that after over a year layoff out of the ring. I don't think he's going to want to rush back in against a guy like Porter. Number 6 is Danny Garcia. This is the first guy that I think there's a possibility that it could happen. A rematch could happen between these two next. It's possible, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. I think this is the one guy Thurman would face in that top 6 area in his next fight, even though he's been out for a while, because I think he's confident he could beat him. I likened his win over Garcia, because that was ruled a split decision as well in 2017. I likened that win to Pacquiao's win over Thurman. I didn't think it was as close as the judges scored it. I thought Thurman cleanly outboxed Garcia, took 8 or 9 rounds, as I thought with the Pacquiao fight over Thurman. So, I think Thurman believes he soundly beat Danny. Danny's still a good, solid name, so why not take him on again? But I really think Danny's going to go after Errol Spence and not look at a Thurman rematch. But if for some reason he got asked out, Danny gets asked out of Pacquiao and Errol Spence, and Thurman's willing to do a rematch, I think Danny would go after a rematch for sure, because I think he could probably beat him. It'd be a good time to catch Thurman coming off a long layoff. So, I think it's possible, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. Number 7 is Yordenis Ugas. I don't think Thurman's going to go in with a guy the style of Ugas. Ugas has a slick kind of style, a very awkward, and you know, it'd be just probably a close, tough battle. And I don't think he wants to go in against a guy who doesn't have that big of a name and take a risk like that right out the gate. Number 8 is Mikey Garcia. I think the fight's possible if Mikey doesn't get the Pacquiao fight and he can't land a title fight against one of the other top dogs, or he can't land like Danny Garcia. You know, I think it's possible that, yeah, for sure, that Mikey, because here's what happens. If Pacquiao decides to choose a fight with Danny Garcia over Mikey Garcia, Errol Spence is not going to want to fight Mikey Garcia again. I highly doubt that. So Mikey then is going to be looking at something else, and it would probably be, if, you know, I really doubt he goes over to Top Rank and fights Terrence Crawford. And outside of that, Mikey's probably would look at a fight with Keith Thurman, and I think because Mikey's not a big-time puncher, I think Thurman would take the fight. So I really think that would be possible if that scenario goes down. But I honestly believe Pacquiao's going to face Mikey Garcia next, so I don't think this is going to happen, but I do think the scenario is possible. But it would have to be Pacquiao choosing Danny Garcia, in my opinion. Number 9 is former 140-pound champ Sergey Lipinets. Another fight I think is possible right here. No, not possible, because Lipinets next is fighting for the interim title. Now, Thurman may still be out of action by that point, but I think Lipinets would wait around for the IBF champion, which could very well still be Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion. So I think he'd probably rather wait around for that, because that's a unification bout, than face a guy like Thurman. So I'm not seeing it. And then the 3-way tie for 10th, we start with Jesse Vargas. This is Matchroom working with the PBC. That is one big strike right there. I don't think they'll come together for the fight. You know, with PBC having so many options at 147, including guys that aren't ranked in the top 10. And then Jesse is likely, in my opinion, going to move up to 154 anyway, so this fight doesn't really make any sense. Then Josecito Lopez, a rematch with him. You know, I wouldn't completely rule it out. Maybe Thurman wants to prove that, you know, the first fight was, Lopez doing so well was a fluke, that he had been out of the ring for almost 2 years, and that's why. But does he want to take that risk in his first fight back after over a year off? I don't know. It's a risk, but I wouldn't completely rule it out, because Thurman is a guy that, you know, prideful, and I think he truly believes, and I truly believe he's on another level than Lopez. So maybe, but I'm going to lean towards the less likely. And then finally, Thomas Delorme, former world title challenger. Delorme's facing Jamal James next, likely for the interim title. If he were to beat Jamal James, you know, I think he'd be down to face Thurman if Thurman wanted to fight, but that'd be the big question. Would he want to take a risk against a guy like Delorme, who's been pulling off some upsets and fighting a lot better the last couple of years? So, you know, it's interesting. We got to wait and see what happens. Okay, so what do I think Keith Thurman's going to do next? I honestly believe it's not going to be a top 10 guy. I believe Thurman is probably just going to stay busy and face just, you know, somebody like an Andre Berto or somebody like on that level of welterweight that, you know, so he can come back, kind of feed off of, maybe even get a knockout win, you know, and kind of get that confidence rolling. And then 2021, just come out firing, going after an eliminator, going after a title shot, you know, going after the big dogs. So unless he could get a Pacquiao fight or a Danny Garcia fight or a Mikey Garcia fight, but honestly, I don't think any of those three happen, but they definitely could. So we'll see what happens. That's the what's next on Keith Thurman, my number 4 welterweight in the world right now. I hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing, you've been hit with the truth.